Hi, I'm Beth Zeitlin, and today I'm welcoming Bob Bernstein of Bongo Java. Known Bob a long time, basically since I started Bongo Java after he moved to Nashville in 1988. And he moved to Nashville to be a business and political reporter, but soon realized that there were no coffee houses for him to sit in and write his great American novel. So he explored the possibility of how to create a coffee shop in Nashville that was similar to the ones that he had enjoyed when he was growing up in suburban Chicago and when he was studying in Madison, Wisconsin, St. Paul, San Francisco. And that's how he launched Bongo Java in 1993. It was the first coffee house in Nashville, independent coffee house, and is still the longest running independent coffee house in general. Forget all the franchises, but independent, great coffee house in Nashville. And he has expanded the coffee houses to try to find better quality coffee, fair traded coffee, and he is focused solely on sustainable coffees, which we love, and has also started a coffee cooperative called Co-op Coffee. And he started it with 6 other people that were interested in great quality coffee and sustainably sourced fair trade coffee. And it has grown to 25 members of his co-op, and they're from all over the US and in Canada, and they import 4 million pounds of great quality organic fair trade coffee each year. So in addition to doing all of that, Bob has expanded the Bongo brand. He's opened several different outlets: Bongo East, Fido, Game Point, Greens, which is a vegetarian restaurant on the Vanderbilt University campus. And in addition to that, he's also very involved civically in Nashville. He supports lots of community organizations. His passion is the environment and education. His supporting a Bintro Montessori school, also helped start a charter school in Nashville, and served on the Greater Nashville Chamber of Commerce Education Report Committee. So he's a great community member and makes fantastic coffee. And we're going to talk to him today about Bongo Java and his sustainability journey. So welcome, Bob.
Good to see you, Beth. It's funny to see you in this setting, but here we are.
That's right. We've never been on TV together before. So tell me about the launch of your personal sustainability journey, Bob.
Well, it's funny. I got into coffee, the coffee business, because I enjoyed hanging out in coffee houses. But the time when I decided to do this, I really knew nothing about coffee, and so I went to the big national trade show. And without thinking about it, I realized I was drifting to all the political and social responsibility seminars, and I kind of ignored all the, like, how to prepare the best coffee and how to do all these quality checks and this and that. And finally, when you hear so much about how big this industry is and how much money is in it, but yet you hear about how coffee growing communities are some of the most poor communities in the world. I went up to this one guy who started a nonprofit, and I said to him, I'm thinking about getting in this business, but why would I want to? It's so exploitive, and it's so this, and it's so terrible, and blah, blah, blah. And he just grabbed me by the shirt and said, it's people like you that got to get in so we can change it. So that was in 92. So every time I think about why I do what I do, I think about that guy grabbing my shirt and saying, you got to do it. And admittedly, we opened in 93, and I think it was 95 that I took my first trip to Source, to Guatemala, and saw what he was talking about. And that changed everything. It's even further, it cemented that all the social responsible things my parents would teach me growing up, and this and that, it all kind of came together there when you see the poverty there. And we're talking about, should we charge $3 or $4 for a cappuccino? And you see these people, $3 to them is weeks worth of food. So it's an eye-opening adventure.
Great story. So tell me about some of Bongo Java's sustainability practices.
Well, I'd say we're really proud of what we do on the coffee side. Like I said, everything we buy is direct source from small scale farmers. It's all organic. It's all fair. It prices above the fair trade price. And not only that, but through what you talked about, co-op coffees, we develop long-term relationships with farmers. Uh, People in our co-op go down every year, so we get to know the families and we get to know the farmers. And we've supported healthcare initiatives, education initiatives, um, things like building wells and things like that in these communities. We also, on the cafe side, we compost, as much waste as we can. We recycle as much waste as we can. We get the reports from these organizations, how many pounds we're composting every year. We try to buy as much locally produced meats, cheeses, dairy as we can. So that reduces lots of things and supports the community. I'd say we're far from perfect. We still carry products that I'm not really proud of, but to survive as a cafe, there's some of these things we just have to have, and things like that. So we're far from perfect, but on the coffee side, I'd say we're as good as we can be, and we're getting better all the time.
Yeah, and you're a real leader in that. You were the first that I noticed in our community buying local and recycling, having recycle bins. And so it was apparent from the start that it was part of your mission.
Well, thank you. It's just it just kind of came to naturally to me. This is what we preach is buy local coffee. So why aren't we buying local meat? Things like that. And again, it's hard to be perfect, but we do what we can. There you go.
Yeah, great. And how do you feel like your sustainability and your commitment to these just supportive practices, how do you feel like that has either benefited or not your business?
Well, it's making me sleep at night, so that's better, right? It's like it's hard to sleep at night when you're realizing you think back to these families you met and this and that. But in terms of pure dollars and cents thing, it's probably cost me lots of money over the years that we're paying more for our coffee. Just because we're buying direct source doesn't mean we're saving any money. We're paying, like I said, we're paying above fair trade prices. We're just trying to put it directly in farmers' pockets. And we don't like pat ourselves in the back. We don't make big screaming marketing campaigns around our sustainability. Part of that is my culture. That's what we were taught from early age. You don't shout about what you do. You just do it. Probably every time we reprint our bags, the organic part gets bigger because I start to buy into that we have to put it out there. And sure, we get a lot of customers because of what we do, but we also get a lot of customers just because they like the coffee or they like our cafes or whatever else. So we've never made it a marketing campaign. We've just done it because that's what we do.
Yeah, that's great. And it speaks well of your parents a lot, that all that started with them.
Yeah, that's the culture.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular on your sustainability journey that's been meaningful to you or important?
Well, I always talk about the stories of going down to the source. The guy who really started co-op coffees, I mean, literally, he's my age, and he got in the VW bus and he drove around the country signing the first 7 of us up. But he was also a volunteer leader for Habitat for Humanity, and he'd go down and build these houses. And this is how he got in the coffee world. And I've told the story so many times, people think it's my story, but it's not. It's his story. But he was building a house for a coffee farmer, and the coffee farmer went out to town or whatever he did for the day. And while they're building this house, they cut down one of the guy's coffee trees, and the farmer came back and freaked out. He's like, why did you cut this tree down? They're like, well, to put the house, we had to put it here. And he's like, and he goes, we're about to cut these 2 trees down. And he's like, if you're going to cut those 2 trees down, I don't want the house. So it made him start to think, my friend, about how important 1 tree is to his family. And then they stopped and redid the whole design of the house, and they figured it out and they made it work. But from that, he got in the coffee industry. He's like, there's something here. And that's how it developed. And I tell the story too. Later on, I went on a Habitat trip with him, and just talking. it's invariably I'll be out playing with the kids in the field, or we did wheelbarrow races one time, or we're doing this. So we get back to town, and they'll call me and say, "We need pictures of kids. Do you got any?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I'll call them and say, "You got any pictures of like the coffee plants?" Because I didn't really take any. So it's those kind of people have different motivations about why they got into this industry and what it's all about. And that's why I think our mission statement says we expand the definition of quality. And to me, that means, yeah, I can spend all day perfecting my equipment or my roast quality and this and that to make it this much better tasting. And that's quality. But it's also quality, how you're treating other people, what you're doing to the earth and everything else. So that's my sustainable story. It's like I just came up with this idea of expanding the definition of quality, and that's what it is. It's a bigger definition of quality. We can't just talk about taste. That's important. I think we produce great coffee, but it's big. It's a bigger quality sense that we talk about.
Right. And that sense of community that you feel at all the Bongo Javas. I think so many people spend time there because it has a unique feel, and it's a very welcoming environment, certainly.
Thanks. I mean, that's like you said, I hung out in coffee houses all over the place. So when it came time to design my own, I felt like I knew what was be comfortable. I knew nothing about coffee. I mean, I made my first latte 2 days before thing, and I couldn't barely tell you what the difference between a latte and a cappuccino was at that time. Looking back, we didn't make such great coffee back in 1993. It took us a while to evolve. We started roasting in '96 and started taking it more seriously and learning that part of it. But thanks. I always focused on the atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me what's happening in Bongo Java's near future. Anything exciting on the forefront?
Well, we're about to kick off a new website, so I'm excited about that. One good thing about the COVID vacation or pause or whatever you want to call it is it got me to sit down and actually write all the copy and design it all. So that's just about to kick off. We're excited about that. We're also launching a new fundraising platform in partnership with a company called Donor 360, where we're going to use our coffee mostly to raise money for schools across the country, but we hope it can easily expand into other nonprofits as well. So that's from the cafe's perspective. We just can't wait for this pandemic to be under control so we can fully operate. We're operating in very limited capacity right now. It's totally not the way I got into business. I didn't get into business for people to grab a coffee and leave. It was to great gathering places. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Great. That initiative sounds great. The philanthropy initiative is really exciting. Look forward to that. So one more question before we wrap up, unless there's anything you'd like to share that we haven't covered.
I'm pretty much an open book, and with COVID, I have an open schedule. So as long as you want to talk, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess the last thing we wanted to talk about is if there was any other products other than Bongo Java that you've seen on the OneDey website that interest you or you've experimented with?
Well, I recognized huge. I don't even know how to pronounce it. HU chocolate. Is it Hue chocolate? Is that how you pronounce it? But I've been eating their products for a long time, so I was excited to see them on there. And then it escapes my mind, but I just ordered some toothpaste, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, okay, great.
I went through the list and see what was there. I'm like, I gotta try something here. So
yeah,
that's what I'm excited about.
good. Yeah, we love Hue chocolate. We just got a new order in, so
Yeah.
I recommend the crackers too. So if you haven't
Oh, well, maybe I'll try that next time. But it's
Okay.
I have to admit I got a sweet tooth.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming. Send my best to Irma and the boys.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and everybody got to try Bongo Java coffee. It's really iconic Nashville. Very, if anybody that knows of Nashville being an it city, our first coffee house was definitely part of that, and the growth of it to East Nashville and all the different destinations all over. So try Bongo Java Coffee on the OneDey website, but more importantly, come to Nashville and come to Bongo Java or Fido or Bongo East and Greens and see what that's all about.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Beth.
All right, bye.
Bye.